Imagine a country where the narrative around immigration is dominated by misconceptions and misinformation. Welcome to Australia, where anti-immigration protesters are claiming that the country's migration numbers are at record highs. But here's the shocking truth. The figures tell a completely different story. According to migration experts, Australia's immigration figures are not at record highs. And the confusion surrounding various migration numbers has led to a false impression of overseas arrivals. But what's really going on with Australia's migration numbers? And how do they impact the country's housing, infrastructure, and economy? To understand the issue, let's break down the different types of migration numbers. There's permanent migration, net overseas migration, and overseas arrivals and departures. Abul Rizvi, a former deputy secretary in the Immigration Department, and Prof. Alan Gamlin of the Australian National University agree that the most relevant number when considering the impact on housing and infrastructure is the net overseas migration figure, or NOM. So, how many people are actually coming to Australia? The latest federal government figures show that the NOM for the 12 months to 31st December 2024 was 341,000 people. That's down 37% compared to the NOM's peak of 538,000 in the 2022-23 year. But here's where it gets controversial. Some anti-immigration rally organizers are claiming that Australia is experiencing mass immigration and that the country is at a record high of immigration. One Nation's Pauline Hanson even claimed that the major parties keep ramping up immigration. However, experts say that these claims are based on inaccurate information and a misunderstanding of migration figures. The Australian Bureau of Statistics has issued a stern rebuke, saying that the use of overseas arrivals and departures data does not reflect the official ABS definition of migration and may lead to inaccurate conclusions on migration. But what about the concerns surrounding migration and its impact on housing and infrastructure? Gamlin says that migrants are not to blame for Australia's housing concerns, and that the relationship between migration and housing is small and weak. In fact, he argues that migration may actually contribute to demand and supply, with migrant workers helping to build houses. The government has also weighed in on the issue, with Prime Minister Anthony Albanese noting the decrease of 37% in the NOM and saying that diversity is a strength in modern Australia. But not everyone agrees, and some are calling for a reduction in migration numbers. Peter Dutton's coalition has pledged deep cuts to permanent migration, while Labor has said it wants to bring the NOM back below pre-pandemic levels. However, experts warn that cutting migration numbers could have unintended consequences, such as impacting the economy and reducing the number of foreigners coming to Australia on working holiday or student visas. So, what do you think? Should Australia be reducing its migration numbers, or is the current level of migration a necessary part of the country's economic growth? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And this is the part most people miss. The impact of migration on the economy is complex and multifaceted. While some argue that migration puts a strain on resources, others say that it brings in much-needed skills and labor. As the debate surrounding migration continues, one thing is clear: the numbers don't lie. And it's time to set the record straight. But here's the question. What's the real reason behind the anti-immigration rhetoric? And is it based on facts or emotions? The answer may surprise you.